What if I told you that waking up at 3:33 in the morning isn't random? What if, in that dark stillness before dawn, something greater than you is trying to reach you? Imagine this: your body rests, your house is silent, yet something deep inside begins to stir. Not your thoughts, not your worries, but your soul itself. This is the hidden hour of awakening, the time when the veil between the seen and the unseen becomes whisper thin. And maybe, just maybe, you were never meant to sleep through it. Edgar Cayce, the man often called the sleeping prophet, believed that sleep is far more than physical rest. He said that when the body sleeps, the soul is active. It reflects, it travels, it connects with the source from which it came. Cayce describes sleep as a sacred rhythm where the subconscious and superconscious minds commune. In that space, healing can happen, insight can rise, and the higher self can send gentle messages that we often miss in the noise of daylight. So when you find yourself suddenly awake at 3:33, heart quiet, mind oddly alert, it could be more than a coincidence. The number itself carries symbolic weight, the repetition of 3, a number that across traditions represents harmony, creation, and the link between body, mind, and spirit. 3:33 is the Trinity multiplied. It is balance magnified. Some believe this is the universe's way of catching your attention, signaling that alignment is near, and that your soul is asking for dialogue. Cayce taught that the mind is a bridge between the physical and the spiritual. In his readings, he explained that the conscious mind is often deaf to the whispers of the soul, but in those early hours of the morning, when consciousness drifts and thought quiets, the bridge opens. It's in that half-dreaming state that intuition can surface without resistance. So if you awaken at 3:33, don't rush to turn on a light or reach for your phone. Simply breathe. Stay still. Notice what you feel. Listen to the tone of the silence around you. Sometimes, what you feel is subtle, a sensation that something wants to be remembered, a memory rising from deep within, or even a phrase that seems to echo from nowhere. Cayce believed that moments like this are invitations. They are not meant to frighten or disturb, but to awaken the awareness that you are more than your body, more than your daily routine. You are a soul on an eternal journey, momentarily housed in flesh, but always connected to spirit. Think of the night itself as a great ocean. During the day, waves of sound, work, and distraction crash upon the surface. But at night, the ocean stills. Beneath that calm surface lies depth, the depth where your higher self waits. Waking up at 3:33 is like being gently lifted from the bottom of that ocean for a breath of remembrance. It's your own consciousness reminding you that you are connected to something infinite. In many of Cayce's readings, he spoke about the importance of the quiet hour. He suggested that just before sleeping and just after waking are sacred windows, times when the mind can receive inspiration most clearly. He even advised people to give their subconscious gentle suggestions at bedtime, to ask for guidance, to seek understanding, to pray for healing. If the subconscious receives that call, then the early morning awakening can be the reply. The soul answers when the world is still enough to hear it. So perhaps the next time you awaken at 3:33, instead of frustration, offer gratitude. Whisper within yourself, "I am listening." Let that phrase be your key. Breathe deeply, and if any emotion rises, peace, sadness, curiosity, let it move through you without judgment. This is your spirit adjusting to a higher frequency, tuning itself to the energy of your own purpose. Cayce once said, "For each soul is destined to meet itself." That moment may come in the middle of the night. Waking up at 3:33 could be the meeting place where your human awareness greets your eternal self. You don't have to understand it fully. You just have to be present to it. Stay with the feeling until your eyes grow heavy again. As you drift back to sleep, Imagine that you are entering a sacred chamber of light within yourself, a space where understanding waits patiently. Ask silently, "What are you showing me? What am I meant to remember?" Then trust that the answer will come, maybe not in words, but in clarity, in peace, in a new sense of direction the next morning. This is the first step, the awakening before the awakening. 333 is not an interruption, it's an initiation. It's the soul knocking gently at the door of your awareness, asking to be let in. The question is, will you open that door? When you wake in the middle of the night, something remarkable happens. The ordinary world fades, and you are left with only yourself, your breath, and the quiet hum of existence. This is the language of the soul. It does not shout. It does not demand. It whispers. It moves like a current under the surface of thought, carrying messages from a level of awareness that is older than time. Edgar Cayce said that the soul speaks in symbols, and that our dreams are its alphabet. To him, every image, every number, every recurring scene carried significance. He taught that no dream is meaningless. Each one is a fragment of the dialogue between the higher self and the waking self. So when you find yourself awake at 3:33, ask yourself, what dream did I just leave behind? What image was fading from my mind before my eyes opened? That is where your soul began speaking. The number itself, 333, carries its own resonance. In many esoteric traditions, the number 3 represents completeness, body, mind, and spirit in harmony. Cayce often described life as a process of bringing these 3 aspects into balance. When a number repeats, like 333, it multiplies its meaning. It is as though the universe underlines its message 3 times, insisting that you pay attention. To wake at this hour is to be reminded that you are out of balance only because you are being called back into it. Cayce's readings reveal that the subconscious never sleeps. It continues its work while the conscious mind rests, sorting experiences, healing wounds, and preparing insights. He compared it to a gardener tending the inner soil. The soul plants seeds during the day through your choices and emotions, and at night, the subconscious waters them. When you awaken suddenly, it may be because something has sprouted, a realization, a truth, or a memory ready to surface. The language of the soul is subtle but powerful. It speaks through feeling, through vibration, through what Cayce called the still small voice. Sometimes it arrives as a memory from long ago. Sometimes it feels like déjà vu. Other times, it comes as an emotion that has no clear source, a surge of love, an unexplained sadness, or a knowing that does not need words. These are not random sensations. They are the soul's handwriting on the pages of your consciousness. To understand this language, you must learn to listen differently. The mind listens for logic, the soul listens for resonance. Cayce suggested that after waking from a dream or a sudden stirring, you should lie quietly and trace what you feel rather than what you think. Ask yourself, what emotion lingers? What image refuses to fade? That lingering energy is the message. Write it down if you can. Keep a notebook by your bed and record even the smallest detail, a color, a sound, a phrase that seemed to echo in your half-sleep. Over time, patterns emerge. The same symbols, the same themes, returning like old friends who refuse to leave until you've understood their visit. Cayce also emphasized that not every nocturnal awakening is mystical. Sometimes, the body is simply restless, or the mind unsettled. Yet even in those moments, you can bring consciousness to your experience. Instead of frustration, choose curiosity. Say quietly to yourself, something within me wants my attention. The attitude of openness transforms even sleeplessness into practice. The very act of awareness, Cayce said, is the beginning of healing. Think of the 333 hour as a mirror. What is reflected in it depends on the light you bring. If you awaken fearful, it mirrors fear. If you awaken with gratitude, it mirrors grace. Your inner state colors what you perceive. This is why Cayce urged people to approach every spiritual experience with calm expectancy, never anxiety. The soul's messages are loving, not alarming. They call you upward, not backward. Imagine for a moment that your higher self is like an artist painting in the dark. Each brushstroke is a thought, a dream, a feeling sent into your awareness. But if you rush to switch on the light, to analyze or label it, the image dissolves. Patience allows the painting to complete itself. In those quiet minutes at 3:33, be the canvas. Allow the soul to paint. Allow the image to form naturally. Cayce once said that spirit communicates through impression more than expression. In other words, you might not receive words or visions, but rather impressions, subtle nudges that guide you toward the right decision, the right thought, the right moment of peace. The next day, those impressions may show themselves in coincidences. You think of someone and they call. You open a book and the exact phrase you needed appears. These are not coincidences at all. They are echoes of the night's message. So when you wake again in that sacred hour, try this. Place your hand over your heart, close your eyes, and whisper, "Speak, I am listening." Now that you know the waking at 3:33 is more than coincidence, the next question is, what do you do with it? How do you respond when your soul calls? Awareness alone is powerful, but without response, the message fades back into silence. The great mystics all agree, when spirit calls, answer with action, however small. Edgar Cayce said that thoughts are things, and that every ideal we hold begins to take form the moment we act upon it. Waking at this sacred hour is your invitation to act consciously, to shape your inner world so that your outer life reflects your soul's truth. The first step is to pause. Don't rush to analyze or explain the experience. Let it breathe. Place a hand on your chest and feel the rhythm there. Breathe in slowly, breathe out gently. Cayce often advised those seeking spiritual understanding to center the breath, to let it be the bridge between the physical and spiritual bodies. As you breathe, whisper inwardly, "I am listening." The stillness that follows is not emptiness, it's the soul's open door. Next, begin the dialogue. Ask inwardly, what am I being shown? What needs my attention? Don't expect a booming voice or a clear sentence. Instead, notice sensations, images, or emotions that arise. Maybe a person's face appears in your mind. Maybe an idea or memory surfaces. Cayce said that intuition is the language of the soul made gentle enough for the human mind to receive. So treat every small intuition as sacred. Write it down if you can. Keep a notebook beside your bed. These fragments may seem unconnected at first, but over time they form a map. The second step is reflection. When morning comes, revisit what you felt in the night. Read your notes, but do so with your heart more than your intellect. Ask yourself, how might this connect to what I'm living right now? Cayce emphasized that spiritual truth always ties back to daily life. He said that ideals are not theories, but forces that shape experience. So if you awaken with the sense that you must forgive, reach out, or change something in your routine, honor that message. The divine rarely shouts, it moves through consistent, gentle guidance. The third step is alignment. Cayce taught that every soul has a central ideal, a spiritual North Star. For him, the highest ideal was love, the Christ ideal, the pattern of compassion, patience, and service. To respond to your calling is to bring your daily choices into alignment with your highest ideal. When you act from that space, your life begins to harmonize with your soul's vibration. It's not about perfection, it's about direction. Each choice toward kindness, honesty, or understanding moves you closer to the self your soul remembers. When you wake at 3:33, You stand at the intersection of two worlds, the inner and the outer. In that moment, you are invited to bridge them. Cayce described this process as the art of attunement. He compared it to tuning an instrument. The more often you practice, the clearer the tone. The first few times, you may hear only faint notes, small synchronicities, brief peace. But with consistency, those notes become a melody guiding you through each day. If you ever feel fear during these awakenings, Cayce's advice was simple. Replace fear with purpose. Say within yourself, only that which is of the light may reach me. Fear fades when the soul remembers its own radiance. You are not being haunted, you are being healed. The energy that wakes you is the same energy that sustains galaxies. To align with it is to remember who you truly are. Another way to respond is through gratitude. Before you drift back to sleep, silently thank your higher self for the message. Gratitude transforms energy instantly. Cayce taught that the attitude of thankfulness opens every channel of communication between the soul and the divine. Even if you don't yet understand the message, gratitude keeps the connection alive. Then, as daylight returns, take one small action that honors the night's insight. If the message was to rest more, rest. If it was to express love, do it. If it was to begin a creative project, take the first step. Spiritual awakening is not meant to stay in the clouds, it seeks to touch the earth through your hands. Each action becomes a bridge between inspiration and incarnation. Cayce often reminded seekers that the spirit is willing, but the flesh must be taught. That means your human habits may resist the call at first. You may forget, doubt, or fall back into distraction. That's okay. Awakening is a rhythm, not a single event. Every time you respond, even imperfectly, you strengthen the channel between your human self and your divine self. So tonight, if the hour returns and you find yourself awake again, remember these steps. Pause, listen, ask, reflect, align, and act. This is your ritual of remembrance. It doesn't require candles or chants, only presence. When you begin responding to your soul's call, something profound starts to shift. The awakenings at 3:33 are no longer interruptions. They become affirmations. They remind you that you are not separate from the universe, you are a participant in it. Edgar Cayce often said that the purpose of life is not simply to know, but to become. Knowledge without application fades like a dream after sunrise. But wisdom, when lived, becomes the light that guides every step. The question now is, how do you live the awakening? Start by carrying the awareness of that sacred hour into your daylight. When you open your eyes in the morning, remember how the night felt the stillness, the connection, the calm pulse of presence. Let that feeling be your compass. You don't need to cling to mystical experiences. You need to translate them into simple acts of grace. Cayce believed that spirituality is proven through action, through kindness, forgiveness, and compassion in the ordinary moments. The divine does not always speak through thunder. Sometimes it speaks through the way you greet a stranger or the patience you offer yourself. Each time you wake at 3:33, think of it as a rehearsal for consciousness. You are practicing how to wake up while the world sleeps. Eventually, this ability begins to extend into your waking hours. You find yourself more aware, more present, more intentional. The same inner quiet you felt at night can be summoned in the midst of chaos. This is how awakening becomes a way of life rather than a passing experience. Cayce's teachings remind us that the soul evolves through choice. Every decision, no matter how small, either aligns you with your higher ideal or pulls you away from it. But there is no punishment here, only feedback. If you feel drained or restless, that's the soul's way of saying, not this way. If you feel peaceful, inspired, or alive, that's a signal that you're in harmony with your path. Life itself becomes a conversation with spirit, and your feelings are its language. Begin to notice the synchronicities that unfold after your awakenings. A phrase in a book, a random encounter, a sudden burst of creativity. These are confirmations that the energy you met at 3:33 is now walking beside you in daylight. Cayce said that the unseen world is never far away. It moves with us like a shadow of light. When you acknowledge these signs with gratitude, they multiply. Gratitude, he said, magnetizes grace. It's also important to remain grounded. The purpose of spiritual awakening is not to escape the world, but to illuminate it. Cayce taught that the soul came into physical form to learn cooperation, patience, and love through experience. So while it's tempting to chase transcendence, the real miracle is to live divinity through humanity. Pay attention to your health, your relationships, your work. These are the classrooms where the soul practices what it remembers from the night. You might notice that, as your awareness deepens, certain habits or patterns begin to fall away. Old fears lose their grip. You may crave quieter surroundings, more authentic conversations, or time in nature. This is natural. The vibration of your life begins to match the vibration of your soul. Don't resist the changes. Welcome them as evidence that your inner work is becoming outer reality. Cayce compared this process to tuning a musical instrument. The dissonance fades as the tone becomes true. If you ever feel overwhelmed by the intensity of your awakening, return to simplicity. Sit quietly, breathe, and affirm, I am safe. I am guided. I am light. These small affirmations recenter you in the truth of your being. Cayce emphasized that ideals act as anchors. When you align yourself with your chosen ideal, whether it is love, peace, or service, no storm can unroot you. The soul remains steady because it knows its source. Living the awakening also means bringing your higher awareness into relationships. See others as souls on their own journeys. The people who challenge you are not obstacles but mirrors, showing you where more compassion is needed. Cayce said that every encounter is an opportunity for soul growth. When you respond to conflict with understanding rather than anger, you are practicing spiritual mastery in the most practical form. Finally, remember that awakening is ongoing. You may still wake at 3:33 weeks or months from now, but you will meet that moment differently each time. So if you find yourself staring at the ceiling in the middle of the night again, smile. You are being remembered by your own soul. Whisper softly, I am listening, and know that somewhere beyond the veil, the universe is whispering back, I am here. Let that exchange carry you into sleep, into day, into life. Because the truth is, you never truly wake up alone. The call and the caller are one. And you have answered.